Well, the Assad family has been synonymous with Syria for more than 5 decades. But now that the dynasty has fallen, how will the country be governed?
Beneath the polished surface of wealth and power lies a story of transformation that shocks and captivates. Once celebrated as the epitome of modern elegance, Syria's former First Lady now navigates a life far from palaces and prestige. Secrets, exile, and a shattered legacy collide in a tale the world can't ignore. Hi, Stacey here from Gossips with another video. Asma al-Assad's life began in London in 1975, far from the turmoil of Syrian politics. Born Asma Akras, she was the daughter of Syrian parents. Her father, Dr. Fawaz Akras, was a respected cardiologist, while her mother, Sahar Akras, worked as a diplomat at the Syrian embassy in London. Growing up in the culturally diverse neighborhood of Acton, Asma was surrounded by the influences of both British and Syrian culture. She excelled academically, displaying a sharp mind and a determination that set her apart from her peers. By the time she reached adulthood, Asma's life seemed destined for professional success. She earned a first-class degree in computer science and French literature from King's College London in 1996. With her strong academic background, she quickly secured positions at prestigious financial institutions like Deutsche Bank and JP Morgan Chase. Asma specialized in investment banking, gaining recognition for her intelligence, professionalism, and analytical skills. She was, by all accounts, a bright and ambitious young woman with a future defined by promise and opportunity. But life took an unexpected turn for Asma in the late 1990s, when she reconnected with Bashar al-Assad. At the time, Bashar was studying ophthalmology in London, far removed from Syria's political landscape. Their families had known each other for years, but their relationship deepened during this period. However, Bashar's path would soon change dramatically. In 1994, the sudden death of his elder brother, Basil, catapulted Bashar into the role of heir apparent to the Syrian presidency. The once reserved medical student was now being groomed to lead Syria, a position his father, Hafez al-Assad, had held with an iron grip since 1971. When Hafez al-Assad passed away in 2000, Bashar ascended to power, and Asma, now his wife, assumed the role of Syria's First Lady. Their marriage was seen as symbolic of a new era for the country. International observers were quick to embrace this narrative, seeing in the couple a chance for modernization and reform in a country long associated with authoritarian rule. Asma wasted no time stepping into her new role. She cultivated an image of sophistication, intelligence, and compassion, championing causes like education, rural development, and women's empowerment. Through her organization, the Syria Trust for Development, she launched initiatives aimed at addressing social and economic inequalities in the country. Asma's polished demeanor and Western sensibilities made her a darling of the international media. In 2011, Vogue famously described her as a rose in the desert, portraying her as a glamorous and forward-thinking First Lady working to transform Syria. But behind the scenes, the realities of the Assad regime painted a very different picture. Syria remained a tightly controlled state where dissent was crushed with ruthless efficiency. The secret police maintained a pervasive presence. Political opponents were jailed or disappeared, and the military played a central role in preserving the regime's power. While Asma promoted social reform on global platforms, critics argued that her initiatives were superficial, designed to distract from the authoritarian nature of her husband's government. The facade of progress began to crumble in 2011 with the outbreak of the Syrian civil war. What started as peaceful protests, inspired by the Arab Spring, quickly escalated into a brutal conflict. Syrians demanded political reform, an end to corruption, and greater freedoms, but the Assad regime responded with overwhelming force. Security forces fired on demonstrators, carried out mass arrests, and used violence to suppress dissent. the situation spiraled into a full-scale war that devastated the country. As the conflict unfolded, Asma's public image began to shift dramatically. She remained silent as the regime committed widespread atrocities, including bombings of civilian areas, chemical weapons attacks, and the deliberate targeting of opposition-held territories. International outrage grew as the death toll climbed into the hundreds of thousands, and millions of Syrians were displaced. Critics accused Asma of complicity, pointing to her continued public support for Bashar's policies and her failure to speak out against the regime's actions. The situation worsened when leaked emails revealed the stark contrast between Asma's public persona and her private life. Some argued that she was trapped in her role, unable to break free from the regime's grip. Others believed she was a willing participant, fully aware of the atrocities being committed in Syria. Her silence, whether born of fear or conviction, became a defining aspect of her legacy. By the early 2000s and 20s, the Assad regime's grip on power had begun to weaken. Years of war had left Syria in ruins, its economy shattered, and its society fractured. Despite military support from Russia and Iran, the regime faced growing resistance from opposition forces. In December 2024, the inevitable happened. Opposition forces overran Damascus, forcing Bashar al-Assad, Asma, and their 3 children to flee the country. Their escape, according to reports, was dramatic. The family used underground tunnels and relied on foreign allies to ensure their safe passage out of Syria. Does she see herself as a victim of circumstance, or does she accept responsibility for her complicity? For Syrians who suffered under the Assad regime, the sight of the family living in comfort abroad is a painful reminder of the regime's legacy. Millions remain displaced, struggling to rebuild their lives, while those they hold responsible for their suffering live in luxury. The question of accountability looms large. Will the Assad family ever face justice for the crimes committed during their rule? Asma al-Assad's story is one of contrasts. She began her life as a bright and ambitious professional with the potential to make a positive impact on the world. But her role as Syria's first lady and her complicity in the regime's actions has defined her legacy in ways she may not have anticipated. From a symbol of hope to a polarizing figure in exile, Asma's journey reflects the profound consequences of power, privilege, and the choices we make. For Syria, the fall of the Assad regime marks the end of a dark chapter, but the road to recovery will be long and arduous. Rebuilding a nation scarred by war requires addressing deep-seated grievances, fostering reconciliation, and ensuring accountability for those responsible for the atrocities of the past decade. Asma al-Assad's life in exile serves as a stark reminder of the weight of power and the consequences of complicity. Will she ever confront her role in Syria's history, or will exile shield her from accountability? What do you think of her story and legacy? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth stories about the world's most complex figures and events.